Good evening, everyone. To open our meeting tonight, Chardell, can you please announce the first hymn?
Hymn number 39. Come, gracious Spirit, heavenly love, with light and comfort from above. Be thou our guardian, thou our guide, o'er every thought and step preside. Hymn number 39.
If you'd like to follow along with the readings tonight, please go to our website, and you'll find from the homepage the link for the live broadcast. And you follow that through to the Wednesday testimony meeting, and then you'll find the text for the readings. And the theme for tonight is Cultivate Your Spiritual Sense. And the readings will now be given by Elizabeth from Georgia.
The Bible, Jeremiah. Thus saith the Lord, the Maker thereof, Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things, which thou knowest not. Luke. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went a fame of him through all the region round about. And it came to pass on a certain day, as he was teaching, that there were Pharisees and doctors of the law sitting by, which were come out of every town of Galilee, and Judea, and Jerusalem, and the power of the Lord was present to heal them. And behold, men brought in a bed a man which was taken with a palsy, and they sought means to bring him in, and to lay him before him. And when they could not find by what way they might bring him in because of the multitude, they went upon the housetop, and let him down through the tiling with his couch into the midst before Jesus. And when he saw their faith, he said unto him, Man, thy sins are forgiven thee. And the scribes and the Pharisees began to reason, saying, Who is this which speaketh blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone?" But when Jesus perceived their thoughts, he answering said unto them, "What reason ye in your hearts? Whether is easier to say, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Rise up and walk? But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power upon earth to forgive sins." He said unto the sick of the palsy, "I say unto thee, Arise, and take up thy couch, and go into thine house." And immediately he rose up before them, and took up that whereon he lay, and departed to his own house, glorifying God. And a woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any, came behind him, and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood stanched. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, "Master, the multitude throng thee and press thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me?" And Jesus said, "Somebody hath touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me." And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling, and falling down before him, she declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said unto her, "Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace." Mark. Jesus called his disciples unto him, and saith unto them, "Go ye into all the world, and preach the gospel to every creature. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." 1 Corinthians. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of God, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. Colossians. For this cause we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you, and to desire that ye might be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, that ye might walk worthy of the Lord unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God. I will read correlative passages from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures and Prose Works by Mary Baker Eddy. Spiritual sense is a conscious, constant capacity to understand God. It shows the superiority of faith by works over faith in words. Its ideas are expressed only in new tongues, and these are interpreted by the translation of the spiritual original into the language which human thought can comprehend. The principle and proof of Christianity are discerned by spiritual sense. They are set forth in Jesus' demonstrations, which show by his healing the sick, casting out evils, and destroying death, the last enemy that shall be destroyed, his disregard of matter and its so-called laws. Mortals need spiritual sense. Jesus once asked, "Who touched me?" Supposing this inquiry to be occasioned by physical contact alone, his disciples answered, "The multitude throng thee." Jesus knew, as others did not, that it was not matter, but mortal mind whose touch called for aid. Repeating his inquiry, he was answered by the faith of a sick woman. His quick apprehension of this mental call illustrated his spirituality. The disciples' misconception of it uncovered their materiality. Jesus possessed more spiritual susceptibility than the disciples. Our Master easily read the thoughts of mankind, and this insight better enabled him to direct those thoughts aright. Our Master read mortal mind on a scientific basis, that of the omnipresence of mind. An approximation of this discernment indicates spiritual growth and union with the infinite capacities of the one mind. Jesus could injure no one by his mind reading. The effect of his mind was always to heal and to save. And this is the only genuine science of reading mortal mind. We approach God or life in proportion to our spirituality, our fidelity to truth and love. And in that ratio, we know all human need and are able to discern the thought of the sick and the sinning for the purpose of healing them. Error of any kind cannot hide from the law of God. Whoever reaches this point of moral culture and goodness cannot injure others and must do them good. The greater or lesser ability of a Christian scientist to discern thought scientifically depends upon his genuine spirituality. This kind of mind reading is not clairvoyance, but it is important to success in healing and is one of the special characteristics thereof. The elucidation of Christian Science lies in its spiritual sense, and this sense must be gained by its disciples in order to grasp the meaning of this science. This sense is assimilated only as we are honest, unselfish, loving, and meek. In the soil of an honest and good heart, the seed must be sown, else it beareth not much fruit, for the swinish element in human nature uproots it. Spirit imparts the understanding which uplifts consciousness and leads into all truth. Spiritual sense is the discernment of spiritual good. Understanding is the line of demarcation between the real and unreal. Spiritual understanding unfolds mind, life, truth, and love, and demonstrates the divine sense, giving the spiritual proof of the universe in Christian Science. This understanding is not intellectual, is not the result of scholarly attainments. It is the reality of all things brought to light. The author became a member of the Orthodox Congregational Church in early years. Later, she learned that her own prayers failed to heal her, as did the prayers of her devout parents and the Church. But when the spiritual sense of the Creed was discerned in the science of Christianity, this spiritual sense was a present help. It was the living, palpitating presence of Christ's truth which healed the sick. Any mystery in Christian Science departs when dawns the spiritual meaning thereof. And the spiritual sense of the Scriptures is the scientific sense which interprets the healing Christ. A child can measurably understand Christian Science, for through his simple faith and purity, he takes in its spiritual sense that puzzles the man. The child not only accepts Christian Science more readily than the adult, but he practices it. This notable fact proves that the so-called fog of this science obtains not in the science, but in the material sense which the adult entertains of it. Again, that Christian Science is the science of God is proven when, in the degree that you accept it, understand and practice it, you are made better physically, morally, and spiritually. You should practice well what you know, and you will then advance in proportion to your honesty and fidelity, qualities which ensure success in this science. When it is learned that the spiritual sense, and not the material, conveys the impressions of mind to man, then being will be understood and found to be harmonious.
We will now have a moment of silent prayer, and then follow by repeating together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Jeff, can you please announce the next hymn?
Hymn number 88. Gracious Spirit, dwell with me. I myself would gracious be, and with words that help and heal would thy life in mine reveal. And with actions bold and meek, Christ's own gracious Spirit speak. Hymn number 88.
Welcome to the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent. This is our weekly Wednesday evening testimony meeting for Wednesday, January 16th, 2019. Welcome one and all. All of our classes and our services, etc., are broadcast live to the public, live streaming over the internet through our website, as well as through our YouTube channel. In addition, we also offer a teleconference, so you can call up on your telephone, listen, and participate. As a result of this, we have many people from all over the world participating and attending our classes and our services, like the one we're having tonight. We're grateful for each and every one of you that have found our church. I'd like to encourage everyone to browse through our website, plainfieldcs.com. We have so much in the way of helpful, inspiring material for your reading, listening, and study, etc. I'd like to also point out a couple items that we're now featuring on the homepage of our website. The first being a most recent edition of Forum Highlights, and another is an article entitled The Fruits of Health, Usefulness, and Joy, This is an article written by M. Ethel Whitcomb. Very helpful article. I highly recommend it. Please join us every Sunday. We start here on Sundays at 10 o'clock in the morning with our roundtable discussion. And we follow that at 11 o'clock with our church service. We also offer a Sunday school for children. This Sunday school meets Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., and it can be attended by teleconference. It has its own telephone number, so your child can attend our Sunday school regardless of where you live. Please call the church. We'll give you the number for the Sunday school. We would love to welcome your child there. We will also be having another Bible study this Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And the study questions are on the website. And one more announcement before we continue. On Thursday of next week, that would be January 24th, we're going to be having a meeting of the members. And this meeting will start at 8 o'clock sharp. And you can come here in Plainfield and attend if you'd like. But otherwise, it will be, you can attend through the teleconference, the regular teleconference that we offer for our church services and our classes, etc. Okay. I will now read from the Church Manual by Mary Baker Eddy, the section entitled Testimonials. Glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. St. Paul. Testimony in regard to the healing of the sick is highly important. More than a mere rehearsal of blessings, it scales the pinnacle of praise and illustrates the demonstration of Christ who healeth all thy diseases. This testimony, however, shall not include a description of symptoms or of suffering, though the generic name of the disease may be indicated. For everyone that gives a testimony tonight, would you please keep it within 4 minutes so that everyone will have a chance to share their offering? And for those of you who are on the teleconference, when you're ready to give your testimony, please press the star button twice on your phone. Keep in mind when you do so that we're going to be able to hear you here as well as any other sounds that your telephone picks up. So please be in a quiet place. And I will call on each of you one at a time by name. And our meeting tonight is now open for the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
I am very grateful for all that I am learning here in Plainfield about Christian Science and how practical this all is in my day-to-day life and work. A while ago, I had given a testimony about how I had been led to write a little computer program that helps me to make the YouTube videos quicker and easier than previously possible. It has made a huge difference in how much work I can get done in a week. Well, the church has recently started working with a man from Pakistan to get translations of lessons and articles into Urdu, Punjabi, and Hindi. And after thinking and praying about how best to move forward with the videos in these languages, I realized how that new computer program is going to make all that possible. I've been able to make videos in Spanish with little trouble, since it's basically the same letters as we use in English. Those 3 new languages, however, have completely different characters, and there's no way I'd be able to understand and follow along with the readings in relation to the text. With the new program, however, I can have the translator mark where each change in the text on the screen occurs, and then take that information and let the program do its thing. I'm so grateful for this, as it was clearly addressing a need I had months ago, and yet was also ready to meet this newest need. Only God could have made such a blessing come about. I especially feel this because I was never able to do this kind of work before coming to Plainfield. I'm very grateful to be a member of this church and for all the teaching that goes on here. It's just full of constant blessings. Thank you. And now I have a testimony from Diana in Berlin and Vienna.
Hello, this is Diana from Berlin and Vienna. I'm in Berlin now, and I would like to express my gratitude again for the roundtable discussion from Sunday, January 6th. I have worked with a lesson from that roundtable all week. So far, I have received one blessing that came from this lesson, which was to see all channels as God's channels. My roommate in Berlin is an American, and for several months, she's been trying to extend her visa to stay in Germany with no satisfactory result. She had another appointment today at the visa office, but even yesterday evening, she still didn't think that she would have enough of what was needed to give her even a 3-month extension. Now, to put this in perspective, if she didn't get an extension, she would have to leave the country in about a week. I suggested that she pray about it and reminded her that there is one mind and that all channels are God's channels. So the person she will get at the visa office is included in that one universal mind and a channel of God. If she's meant to stay in Germany, she will get the appropriate visa. God's will be done. I spent the evening praying for her as well in this way. So today she went to the visa office, and as it turned out, she got a 2-year visa, which was wonderful and totally surprising. Now, something that I have been thinking about recently is about what church work really is. And this is just one example of doing the work that leads to God's will being done. I am very grateful for this demonstration so that I see clearly the positive effect of doing this work. Again, just like the watches, when we get to work doing God's work, which is for the universal good, we benefit greatly. I am grateful for all I am learning about the Bible and Christian Science from this church. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shahidat from Maryland, go ahead.
I am very grateful to be here with you all tonight, and I really appreciate those excellent readings. Just recently, I started reading the amplified version of the book Mary Baker Eddy, Christian Healer. I'm particularly impressed at the fact that Mrs. Eddy learned from a very young age through her Puritan upbringing to listen to God. Listening and obeying God is something that I've been working to cultivate since coming to Plainfield. Several years ago, when I was looking to purchase my house, I prayed generally about the house search, but I didn't truly give it over to God until the first house I put an offer on fell through. Afterwards, a house came on the market within my target range, just right 3 miles outside the city, so it was in a perfect area as well. And even though I wasn't sold on the neighborhood, I felt a strong sense that this house was supposed to be my home. And so I put an offer on the house, and even though I wasn't the highest offer, the sellers chose to sell it to me. And they even hooked me up with their banker, who gave me a great first-time homeowner loan, which I was very grateful for. And since being here, the community has welcomed me with open arms, and that's been a pure blessing. For example, last Sunday morning, I woke up to hear somebody cleaning my driveway and my walkway of snow voluntarily. And such needs like that I've always been met since I've been here, which I'm very grateful for.
Thank you. Day from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for tonight's readings. Today's calendar quote reads, "Man can never learn his possibilities except through difficulties and conflicts." This is something that I'm learning and realizing more each day. As I used to fear and dread difficulties and conflicts, Through my study of Christian Science in this church, I have a better understanding that these are blessings, even if in disguise, which give me the opportunity to draw nearer to God by turning to Him, asking for His direction, protection, and guidance in what I need to do or to learn to overcome the challenge. And as a result, I'm learning my possibilities as I progress. I'm finding that it's the consistent practice of turning to, listening to, and doing my best to obey God that's helping me to cultivate my spiritual sense. And this is the one thing that I'm most grateful for. Thank you so much again for tonight's readings, for the testimonies that have been given and the ones to be given, and for the beautiful hymns. I'm very, very, very grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Russ from British Columbia, go ahead.
Thank you for the good readings on spiritual sense tonight, and for the testimonies given and the testimonies about to be given. Recently, my dad gave me an account of some 60 pages long of all the healings that he had during his lifetime. And he was a real note taker. The details of this little story that I'm about to read are true and happened to myself, my sister, and him. It's called The Voice at the Bridge. When Sonia was about 6 and Russell about 12, the three of us were taking a vacation trip together in a Volkswagen camper van, which we had at that time. The following events took place somewhere in eastern BC. The road was paved, but a bit narrow, as was common of BC roads of the day. The road came down a hill and made a fairly sharp turn onto a bridge and went up on the other side, out of the valley. This particular bridge was a narrow one, a one-way bridge, about 100 feet long, crossing a medium-sized creek. The VW van was underpowered, so hills and curves called for one to be constantly alert to optimize the downhill speed to help get up to the next hill. As I came down the hill, I could see that I had to go up a hill and out the other side after crossing the bridge. So as soon as I made the turn on the bridge, I accelerated in order to keep as much of my speed as possible. No sooner had I started across the bridge than I heard a voice in my head, speaking urgently but clearly. It said, "Turn onto the road, just the other side of the bridge. Hurry." I immediately started braking for all I was worth, as the turn was very close after the bridge. But the van's brakes were always inadequate, and I wasn't able to slow down sufficiently to make the turn. As I was getting near stopping speed, I mentally thought, I'll back up and get onto that road. But immediately the voice said very urgently, "No, there's not time. Pull over as close to the edge of the road as you can and stop." I did. I brought the van to a stop, and as soon as I could, as close to the edge as I could, which was quite a way from off of the road. There was a large space here, as the roadway had been widened, perhaps for trucks to park. There was a restaurant on the other side of the road. All this took place in seconds. As I was putting on the parking brake, Russell said, "Why are we stopping?" I was beginning to figure out how to answer him when I saw a tractor-trailer outfit come around the corner at the top of the hill ahead of us. Immediately he got into trouble. The road must have been slippery, as the truck made more that the turn was heading up ended up sideways, and then started down the hill sideways. The truck came sliding all the way downhill towards us. I thought, as he came near us, that he was coming straight at us. It wasn't time to get out of the way, as the kids were on the side where the truck would have hit us. For a moment I thought the truck was going to hit us for sure, but he slid right past. I figured the driver had little chance, as the truck would likely hit the bridge with force because it was still moving fast. If he missed the bridge, he would go over the embankment. In either case, the driver would not need help. Just as he cleared past us, I told the kids to get out and come with me as the driver would need help quickly. I jumped out and started running. Just as I got around the back of the van, I saw the complete front axle with both wheels up in the air. I ran to the edge of the embankment thinking, with the truck hitting with such force as to shoot the front axle up into the air 20 feet, the driver will need help, fast. However, when I reached the edge, I could see the truck. The driver was already climbing out of the window. The truck was on its side. The driver didn't appear to be seriously hurt, and his partner came climbing out right after him. The two climbed the embankment, and by the time the people from the restaurant arrived, they took the two truckers over to the restaurant. So I felt my help wasn't needed. And I'll just finish it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight and for the music. Tonight I want to express my gratitude for practitioner support and learning how practical turning our life over to God is here at this church. Now, this week we had a water heater installed, and during the installation a leak was discovered, and it was so late that we couldn't continue the project, but they were able to secure a leak so that we had cold water until the next day. I had been praying throughout the project, and the next day we did have someone coming, but I mentioned it to the practitioner. I felt I should get additional support from her. And she did remind me that it was right for us to have what we needed, the hot water, and that nothing could disrupt the work that I had to do for God. There was also some concern at the time that it might take longer than that day to get done. But that's not how it came out. Actually, it turned out it was solved in less than 2 hours, very smoothly, no disruptions. The individual that came didn't even want to be paid. And I just am so grateful, because in the past these things would be so very stressful to me. And I would get myself wound up, but I remained calm and I trusted. And in this process of listening, certain things like laundry and stuff got done at the perfect timing. It never disrupted anything in the household. And I'm so grateful. And I know it was the practitioner support the next day that just sealed the whole thing, because it was much more harmonious and quickly done than the day before. And I'm just so grateful to be learning how to trust God and His care in all the details in our life. I'm very grateful for Christ Jesus, for Mrs. Eddy giving this science and this church to teach us how to use it correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Hi. Last week there was a testimony shared, I think by Gary, about not only doing as God directs, but also when and as God directs. Apparently I again had to test this idea for myself, for feeling that I should shorten a lovely skirt, but too long. I barged ahead on the project that, for a few unique reasons, turned out to be an especially challenging job. After tediously and time-consumingly undoing all the sewing I initially did, I was more willing to patiently listen for guidance and not again get ahead of God's direction. Turns out there were several ideas and steps needed that I hadn't anticipated or had ignored, and that came to thought step by step. And I've needed not to rush the project, but to do just a little when directed. The results so far are so much better. Such a good reminder to listen each step of the way, whether we think we know what to do or not, including when we don't see why. It's another way to humble yourself. And thank you, God. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for everyone's testimony. testimonies and also the wonderful hymns tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Nancy from New Jersey, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the beautiful readings tonight and for all of the beautiful testimonies. I'm so grateful for all that is provided to us here at Plainfield, from the love and the support and instructions of our dedicated practitioners, for our Bible studies and roundtables, our watches and church services, for our website that is filled to overflowing with priceless articles and audios and much more, and for the outstanding music and the solos. Tonight, I just wanted to call and express my gratitude for this past Sunday's beautiful performance of How Great, Great Thou Art. To me, this was another beautiful example of the love and of the unity that is ever present in this church and in every service. I could clearly feel the pure love of each one of our dear members pouring forth and lifting my heart and bringing tears to my eyes. How true it is that every aspect of our church services brings blessings beyond measure to all attending and listening. I've listened to this performance many times since Sunday, and each time it fills me with love and joy. I am so grateful to God for being led to this church. I am grateful for Mrs. Eddy for Christian Science, and to this beautiful church, and for all of its dear members. Thank you.
Thank you. Chardell.
Good evening, and thank you for the readings on spiritual sense and the lovely music. Tonight, I wish to offer my gratitude for Plainfield Church and all the dedication to teaching using the Bible and Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. My 19-year-old grandson came to me for prayer the other day after he had been injured in a fight and then fell on the ice and was in great pain. I had asked him about the fighting, and I believed him when he said he had learned a tremendous lesson. One of the things I have learned here is not to go on spouting truths. I simply asked him a few short questions, and he answered promptly, quickly, and strongly. Yes, he said. He left my room soon after that, and I got right to work. The prayers are too numerous to list, but I was especially careful to stay focused on God's love and not to be double-minded, which has been an issue for me. I told my practitioner all about this and told her that I was praying for this child and all children. I had more confidence than ever before, and when I talked to him again, he said, "Oh, I was going to call you. I had a great day, and just now I'm skateboarding back to my apartment after my last class." Actually, we were doing FaceTime so I could see him skating and his big smile. He was joyful and had lots of expression in his voice. When I sent him a prayer today about peace and told him to send it out to the world, he texted a heart above the message. I am so grateful for this experience and growth for both of us. Thanks be to God, Christ Jesus, Mary Baker Eddy, and my wonderful practitioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
Thanks so much for those readings on cultivating spiritual sense. I got from it that God gives us instruction to bless and that we need to we'll cultivate it as we use it. Take it and use it. And the reading, the music was so very inspiring also. This last year, about every day, I'm working with the 23rd Psalm. It's Christian Science here really makes the Bible come alive. And the 23rd Psalm is a favorite of mine because I feel like God's just right there with me all the time and every day and step at a time. Well, as it goes, sometimes I seem like I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death, and I do not need to be afraid because we have Christian Science. We have a rod of the truth and the spiritual understanding, and the strength comes from all these prayers and hymns that we are regularly given. And it has made me buoyant and able to just take the next step, seek to listen and then seek to do. I'm sure if all the inspiration and the guidance from practitioners and the services, I'd fall flat on my face. But the Bible, it just comes alive when you start to grasp pieces of it through Christian Science. I thank God, and I know that I will see goodness and mercy all the days of my life because we have victories. I thank God for this wonderful place that is provided for everyone to really know God and the Bible.
Thank you. Now, this is Bruce. This week, while I was studying the lesson, I was grateful again for a wonderful experience I had a number of years ago. And the thing that triggered it off was there's a statement from the Psalms that says, "The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me." And this is such a beautiful, beautiful promise from God. And it really does, He really does perfect the things that genuinely concern us. The story that I was going to say happened a number of years ago when I was involved in a project and I knew it was coming up. And I didn't know it at the time, but I guess I didn't honestly realize it at the time. I was like thinking about a lot of things, all the little details and whatever. Some of them were even insignificant. But I had a chance to mention to the practitioner that I called about this project, and before even saying anything else, the practitioner said, "The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me." And then she went on talking about other things, and after the conversation was over, I realized, God knows the things that genuinely concern me about this project, and He takes care of them. He perfects them. And all the other things that I've been thinking about, they don't concern me at all. So it was just nothing but a distraction. And then we finished that project and everything went well. The following week, I was going to be at the same place doing something else, and all of a sudden I could see these little things that were going to try and get me worried about this, that, whatever, trying to think it all. And I remembered the experience that I had the week before. That God does indeed perfect the things that are of genuine concern, but all of these other distracting things that I'm worrying about, there's just nonsense. So put it all in God's hand, and then things worked out well. I got to admit, I'm very grateful for that. But I'm so grateful for this statement of truth in the Psalms and the experience that I learned from so many years ago from the practitioner who told me this statement. Thank you. Fairley from Maryland. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be a member of this church. It has really turned my life around. I found Christian Science as an adult, but I never really was able to practice it until I found Plainfield. I have been healed of insomnia, lifelong insomnia, since I've come to Plainfield, clinical depression, and I always got colds every fall, and I never have a cold anymore. My practitioner told me to study the article by Mrs. Eddy, I've Got Cold. And I never allow myself to have a cold again. God has been so good to me in bringing me to this church, and I just want to express my thanks for all that is offered here, for my practitioner, for all the Bible studies and round tables, and all the support in so many ways, and all the beautiful testimonies that people give every Wednesday night. It's really a feast. So thank you very much for the beautiful readings on spiritual sense. I'm very happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for the instruction to cultivate spiritual sense, which was taught here and emphasized over and over again since I became a member of this church. Without it, too many lies have taken me for granted and for a ride. While with it, my eyes are more open to evil, deceitful ways, and I can say it helps me help myself stop evil in its tracks. Recently, I was helped greatly with this, what I've gained here through spiritual sense, to question something rather benign that somebody said. But without that sense, I know it was leading me to think wrongly about someone, and I know that before long it would have created a fantastic movie for me full of lies. In the past, I know some of the things that come to trick us is those discouraging thoughts, those that play some past wrong, some past hurtful thing, and those that kind of remind us about a material history that was not good. I am grateful that with this improving spiritual sense, I'm more aware to question all that does not feel right. And also with it, I'm able to hear God, His direction, to change my thinking and stop any unnecessary movies. Only harmony comes from God, and I'm grateful to learn this, and also for how we are taught to keep right thinking going all the time, which includes the habit of staying grateful. I'm so grateful for the readings tonight, grateful for Mrs. Eddy, Christ Jesus, and all the examples so far to help us. I'm so grateful for the testimonies, the hymns, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, to close our meeting tonight, Linda, can you please announce the last hymn?
Hymn number 194. No mortal sense can still or stay the flight of silent prayer, unceasing, voiceless heart desire that seeks God everywhere. Hymn number 194.